morning, students. Today we start with 5.2 in the syllabus. 5.2 we discuss productivity. This, like many of the other lessons I do in more than one lesson at school, because the group activities normally take much longer. Class discussions also take much longer than how I discuss it now. So it don't mean if I discuss it in one lesson, you can't use 3 for it, because you must get the input and the feedback from the students. So productivity in the syllabus is 5.2. Here we will look at what's the meaning of productivity. We will look at how you measure it. We will look at how business can improve their productivity. And then we will also look at the effect of IT on productivity. And we will also look at the effect of HIV on productivity. Okay, productivity is different from production. And it is also, like I've said in the last sentence on this slide, very important that you can discuss the difference between them. Productivity indicates how fast, how efficient, at what speed that you produce this good and services. So when you produce, say for example, maize flour, or maize that you use to make porridge or cereal, if you produce that, you take millis and you refine it into this maize. But in the case here where productivity is, that is not only about production. Here we measure the speed at which this production takes place. So if we calculate this, we look at what the output is. Say for example, we produce t-shirts in our factory, and you have said your output is 100 t-shirts. You divide by your input, and your input is, say for example, 2 sewing machines. Then you say the productivity per sewing machine is 50 t-shirts per week, say for example. Output can be the products produced in your firm, for example t-shirts. So you can't just for an examiner say it's the output divided by the input. It's also good that you say the output can, for example, be t-shirts, and the input in this case can be, say, the sewing machines, or you can say the people that work in this production process. That is also an input. So if we calculate the productivity of the people that work in the production process, it will be the output of 100 t-shirts. And if you say we have 10 people working there, then you say the productivity per person is 10 t-shirts per person per week. Remember, the input can be any of the factors of production: land, labor, or capital. Okay, then we have group work. Again, you divide the class in groups of 4. Then after 10 minutes, you will discuss with them what they have, what the information is that they have collected. The question here is what they must discuss is how can firms increase their productivity in their business. You can, for example, after you gave them 10 minutes, I hope that they have come to new ideas like training your workers that they can produce more efficiently, or buying better, higher, newer quality equipment, manage your workers much better, implement control systems Like if you come in the mornings, you must put your fingerprint in that they can see when you log in. And if you leave at lunch or leave at the end of the day, you put your fingerprint in again. By that, they can control that you are in the office at least for the 8 hours or 9 hours that you must work daily. They can implement CCTV to see if you really are working or sleeping. They can protect tracking in your car to see that if they send you by truck to deliver, say, vegetables, that you do it and come straight back to your warehouse. So that's a way of increasing productivity. Okay, the same will happen again for the next slide. This is also a classwork activity. Every person in this class must take a clean piece of paper and write down 20 different forms of IT that you can think of that businesses can use in their business, or businesses can use. So you can look at cell phones, they can look at, as I've already said, CCTV, they can look at Skype or Zoom, security doors, barcode scanners, all of that, electronic tools that you use in businesses. So they can make a list of all the IT that they have seen in businesses. The next activity is group work. In this group work, each group choose a business in Namibia. So in my case, I, for example, choose Verman and Brown. Now, I will then try to identify at least 10 forms of IT that they use. So they use electronic tools, they use credit card machines, they use the barcodes or the pricing machines that you get under each product. There's just a barcode on it, and there you can see what the product costs, and that is with a little console linked to the information that is also on the till. You get your CCTV cameras, you get equipment that measure the temperatures of the freezers. You get equipment that measure the temperature of the clients if they enter the business. You get now different electronic machines on which you weigh the meat and the fruit. So these are all electronic equipment. There's security equipment that they use to protect their business. Say, for example, through G4S is also electronic equipment. Okay, now for the second last part of this chapter is IT. Now, firstly, you ask your group in your class to tell you why firms use each form of IT. Why do you think? What is the reason they use CCTV camera? There can be two reasons. The one reason it is that they want to see if the workers are working. The other reason is that they want to see that there's not any theft taking place. So, like I have said here, an example is a cell phone. So if the manager has a cell phone with him, he can answer his cell phone anytime, not only when he's in the office. And this will help then that problems can be solved much quicker. So you see, that's why he uses it. That he can answer and that he can help where needed. Now my next topic that you must discuss with the class, each of the different forms of IT which we have mentioned in the previous slide. So if we take again the example of a cell phone, what is the effects of that? The positive effect is that problems can be solved much quicker. If it doesn't matter if the manager is out of the office, he can still answer the phone, he can still solve the problem. We don't have to wait for him until he comes to the office, then explain to him the problem and then solve it. So it's positive that it can be solved much quicker. Then negative points, you can perhaps say that some people leave the office and don't have really a connection with what is going on in the office or in the shop if they are not there, and if they are away too many times or too oftenly. Okay, there is a question for you on IT and productivity that you can answer, one for 3 marks. Explain what is meant by productivity and how it is measured. Describe the advantages of using information technology to increase productivity. So other advantages. And so you can answer that. That is 5 marks. So the last part of this unit is about HIV. So HIV is also affect productivity in your businesses. Now, we can look from a point of view of an individual that is affected by that. And that means that this person, you can think of how tired they get, how often they must go to clinics, how depressed they can get, how other people may discriminate against them. And all of this bring down their self-esteem and their productivity. And it causes that you must rent a temp or somebody to replace them, and that increase your business average cost and decrease the profits of your business. So you see, in a case like this, there's lots of negative effects for the person itself. But if that person is oftenly away or too tired and he can't work at the same speed as previously, it affects your output and your productivity. If this production process takes place in a production line, you remember when we have done division of labor, I've said that each person do a certain part of or is responsible for a certain part in the production line. In a case like that, if you are on a production line and one of the people are sick or must go to the clinic or don't feel well or just tired, they all don't produce at the same speed as the others, and all the products will pile up here at the station where this person is. This stresses this person out, and it stresses out the others working in the same production line. So, but if that person isn't here and you rent somebody else to replace him, he's also not used to doing the job. So it will also slow down the whole production line. So you see, on that, it is like I've said, it will increase the average cost because you rent somebody else. You do it at a much slower speed, and that decreases then your profits. Because again, if we talk about profits like in the previous, it is your revenue minus your cost. And if your cost increase and your revenue decrease because you don't produce so much, then your profits will be lower. Students must summarize all the findings and discuss answers for the next lesson. So findings on how the government experience it, how businesses experience it, and how the individual experience. Summarize this from an individual's point of view, not only the person that is sick, but also the other workers working with him. From a firm's point of view, and from the government. It's very expensive for the government because they supply the medicine that is needed for HIV. And it is also, in a sense, decrease the output of the country. It's also negative for the government. Businesses, it's costing them a lot more, and it causes also labor upsets because the other workers don't want to work with somebody that is infected or with HIV. So in this case, you can look at problems from 3 different sides, and it's good that you summarize it, that you have it available when you prepare yourself for the exam. Okay, that's all for today's lesson. This is very interesting topic, this productivity and IT and HIV. So you can really spend a lot of time on it. Students like to discuss this. Thank you very much.